I came up with the idea of how quickly I could get a game over in every N64 game. Before we jump into it, what does it mean to get a game over? Most games, it's very simple. Run out of lives, you lose. Run out of continues, you lose. But there are a few exceptions. Games like Harvest Moon 64, Hey You Pikachu, Pokemon Snap. You can't game over in games like that. So I had to think of some creative alternative. And when we get to those games, I'll talk about them. So there are 296 games in this challenge, and that makes for 8 equal parts. We're going to start with 007 Goldeneye, and work our way to Buck Bumble here in part 1. And just one final heads up, certain games are grouped with other games, like both 007 games are with each other, the Goemon games are together, and Kobe Bryant and NBA Courtside is with NBA Courtside 2, and the San Francisco Rush games are in order, even though Rush 2 is just called Rush 2. That's just how I thought it would make sense video-wise. That being said, I hope you enjoy part 1. The first game for the Game Over Challenge was 007 Goldeneye. I figured playing on 00 Agent and getting to the explosive barrels as quickly as possible was the fastest way to lose. It took just over 43 seconds. So the strategy to fail in the world is not enough was to punch the receptionist so he failed the mission, and then have the guards kill Bond. They did not do a very good job, and that's why this one took about 2 minutes. Up next is our first of many racing games, and our first game with a life system as well. I found that the fastest way to lose in 1080 was to crash and run out of health 3 times. This took just over 2 minutes. Up next was A Bug's Life, and I think I found the perfect game over strat. By running into this worm over here and just standing still, under 2 minutes, we got a game over, even with the generous lives the game gives you. Up next is the longest game so far. Arrow Gauge took nearly 5 minutes to fail since I had to do the qualifying round first, and then it took me about a minute to realize I could just take enough damage to come in last immediately, rather than finishing the race in 8th place. So, Aero Fighter's Assault immediately takes the crown from Arrow Gauge by being the longest game so far. It's also the first game where I used a level select code to select a level that had a shorter timer, as the only way to fail in Aero Fighter's Assault is to run out of time, and it was either wait 10 minutes or wait about 6 minutes. I chose to wait 6 minutes. Up next is one of the few RPGs on the N64, Aidyn Chronicles the First Mage, and it took quite a while for the first enemy to hit me enough to where I lost the battle and got a game over. You are completely at the mercy of the RNG on this one. Up next, we've got the All-Star Baseball series, starting with All-Star Baseball 99. The All-Star Baseball games thankfully let you simulate in the World Series, so all I had to do was lose Game 6, and I lost the World Series. All-Star Baseball 2000 was more of the same. However, I realized that I could plug in a second controller and make things go even faster this time. So, I did the same thing as last time. I simulated till I was about to lose the World Series, played one game, and then I lost the World Series. You're not gonna believe it, but All-Star Baseball 2001 had the exact same strategy. I simulated to the final game of the World Series, and then I lost the World Series yet again. Although it only took about 4 minutes to lose in All-Star Tennis 99, it felt like an eternity, as this is one of my least favorite games on the entire N64 library. Up next is Armorine's Project S.W.A.R.M, another game I'm not particularly fond of, and while you do have to sit through a kinda lengthy cutscene at the beginning, there's a rather convenient cliff right after, which provides us with a very quick game over. We're up to the Army Men games now, and the first one is Sarge's Heroes. You might think the strategy for this game would be to just stay near some enemies, have them kill you, but I decided to run to the water because that is instant death. Sarge's Heroes 2 has an even faster way to get a game over. All you have to do is turn around and jump right off the table, making for our shortest game so far. Up next, we have the third and final Armorman game, Armorman Air Combat. I was worried this one was actually going to take a bit of time to lose, but I found a tank very close to the spawn point, and he was very willing to give me a game over. Asteroids is an arcade classic. Asteroids Hyper 64 doesn't really even need to exist. Thankfully, getting a game over doesn't take too long, just a little over 2 minutes. But all it is just running into asteroids for 2 minutes. Up next, we have the game that arguably has the greatest title of any game ever, Automobili Lamborghini. However, getting a game over was not fun even at all, as there's no way to lose unless you lose every single race. This took about 45 minutes, and yeah, it's not really worth it. I felt like quitting right away wasn't enough of a game over. That's why I had Banjo run into the topper enemy here and run out of lives that way. The game over took just over 2.5 minutes. Banjo-Tooie here works a little bit differently. You have infinite lives, so there's no way to run out of life, but I wanted to have at least one death in the game. So I had the first Grublin kill Banjo, and then we just quit out. Normally in Bass Hunter 64, it would take about 40 minutes to run out of time. However, if you change your equipment, you'll be assessed the time penalty. And if you change your equipment enough, you'll end the day with 0 fish caught in just under 2 minutes. The second and final fishing game on the N64, Bassmasters 2000, was very easy to lose. All we had to do was end the day 3 times, and we'd lose the tournament in 50th place. In addition to being one of the absolute worst games on the N64, getting a game over in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker actually took a lot longer than I was expecting. I had to make quite a bit of progress just to find an enemy that would deal enough damage for me to get a game over kinda quickly. The first Battle Tanks game was incredibly straightforward and easy to lose. I just had to lose my first tank, and that was it. Game over. On the other hand, losing in Battle Tanks Global Assault proved to be kinda difficult. Despite my best efforts, I could not get a game over on the first level. It took me progressing to level 2 to eventually run out of money to buy new tanks. Hey, we actually have something positive to talk about with Battlezone Rise of the Black Dogs. At least it's really easy to lose in this game. You just die once, game over. That's it. Beetle Adventure Racing has a really interesting mechanic where if you fall behind by over a minute, the game automatically ends and you get a game over. It's not very helpful when you're trying to win, but it's incredibly helpful when you're trying to lose. Up next we have the one, the only Big Mountain 2000. This one is a very easy game over. Just run out of time on any course, and that's it. Like most fighting games, Biofreaks is incredibly easy to lose. Just do nothing and have the AI beat you up, and you'll lose in no time. Blast Core is another incredibly easy game over. All you have to do is turn around, drive right into the missile, and then you blow up. Up next is the all-time classic Blues Brothers 2000. All you have to do is run into the next room and have the other inmates beat you up. It's a very quick and easy game over. Of all the things that are difficult in Body Harvest, getting a game over is not one of them. Under 100 seconds, and we've already accomplished it. Following that, we have the first of the Bomberman trilogy on the N64, Bomberman 64. After sitting through the opening cutscene, you just have to blow up 3 times, and then it's a game over. Up next might be the single most overlooked N64 game, Bomberman 64: The Second Attack. Gotta sit through another cutscene at the beginning, but other than that, it's a pretty straightforward game over. Just have to run out of hearts. Bomberman Hero is the only part of the Bomberman trilogy that allows you to skip the opening cutscene, which I'm grateful for. And it's also another very easy game over. I was expecting bottom of the 9th to take actually quite a bit of time. However, I found the challenge mode, which allowed me to get a game over in less than a minute. I was pretty hyped about that. The first of 3 bowling games on the N64, Brunswick Circuit Pro Bowling, all you gotta do is bowl a 0. I figured that was as close to a game over as it gets. And for the final game in part 1 of the Game Over series, we have Buck Bumble. A very easy and straightforward game over, as all we have to do is crash into a puddle 3 times, and it's game over in under a minute and 30 seconds. And that ends part 1 of the Game Over series. Our total time is 2 hours, 14 minutes, 6 seconds, and 40 milliseconds. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh!
Who's the man?
Hey!
Okay.